In other games you will know him by other names, but here in Thedas, he is not a sorcerer or wizard or whatever else you might be thinking of. It is a mage, and that's all there is. Mage. The only class in Dragon Age who gets access to spells, mana to be able to spend on spells. They are a almost completely primarily ranged focused class, and they are the starting template for what you want to do with your magic caster. The other classes' starting templates being rogue and warrior. Now the most important thing about playing a magic caster is the spells themselves, the choice you have. Now in tier 1, a lot of critique was put negatively against the box because the beginning spells you had to choose from the tier 1 set, which is levels 1 to 5, was rather limited. Well, we're talking 18 spells, and your character starts with only 3 spells. Then they can come away knowing just about a handful or just over by the end of the tier. So you don't have a lot there you can do, but remember, again, you can auto-attack. So I suppose it is just like that warrior saying, well, I swing my sword. But, if, you know, you get to do other stuff too. That's cool, right? The other thing is there's a bit more complexity to it, because you obviously have to worry about your health bar, just like the other 2 classes. But in the Dragon Age computer game, the other 2 classes had to worry about stamina, didn't they? The yellow bar, and there was potions for that. Well, not here. There is no stamina at all. You just have major and minor actions, and you can do things in that time frame. However, the mage has to also worry about their mana bar, and that can be a little bit more problematic. We'll come to that in a sec, though. The spells, 18 to choose from. One of them is a heal. That's quite critical information. If you're the only mage in the group, I suppose you'll probably feel compelled to almost definitely have to take the heal spell. You can choose 1, 2, or 3d6 worth of damage to attempt to heal, but it is an instant heal at least. A combat heal, if you like, for the party. Otherwise, the only other elements of healing would be an overnight wait, to sleep overnight. That would be a full heal. The breather for 5 minutes, where you can get some back. Or a target number 11 cunning healing test, which, you know, in combat, it's a bit dodgy, isn't it? You have to be able to be free, move adjacent to the person that needs healing, so that all takes time. Then use a ready action to get your bandages out. You have to have bandages. And then use an activate action to then use the bandages with your healing test to attempt to heal them up a bit. Now, just for the sake of future considerations, Tier 2, which is levels 6 to 10, which is out at the time of making this video, top cap will be Tier 4, which will, of course, cover the final 5 levels up to 20. But yes, the Tier 2 spells really did blow that door open. The players that weren't satisfied with the amount of options there for Mage, well, they can level 1 to 5 fairly fast, I think. So in the Tier 2 book, the spells become rather numerous indeed. There's a lot. And there's this is when the specializations start kicking as well. Now, at the higher levels, all of this extra spells to choose from and more spellcasting opportunities and your mana's bigger and all this, it carries its own dangers too. And that's because they've brought in Tier 2 a new chance for a spell going very badly wrong, and you have to do these sort of resistance tests and this other test. You get about 2 different things you have to get through before things get nasty. You've got to fail. And then once it comes your way that a spell has gone wrong, then you could potentially, at its worst, just end up outright losing your character to a demon, just full possession. Now, some of you might think, well, that's really, really harsh, but the likelihood of that happening isn't very high because, again, you have to severely badly fail on the rolls and then the roll following it as well, and then get the wrong result, of course. But there are other bad things that can go wrong. You know, you might burn extra mana, have a kind of like a burn feedback kind of effect on you. We won't get into that too much because we aren't really covering the scope of Tier 2 much, but I'm just putting it out there as an awareness that, yes, your spells will increase, but those new spells come with new dangers for the mage class because you are more powerful, so you're capturing more winds of magic in Warhammer terms and pushing out more, so hence things could go wrong easier. Spells are handled very easily. They're just like any other ability test in Dragon Age. They're just target, number, cast, 3d6, plus your magic, plus a focus in the school if applicable or what have you. Easy as that, really. They all cost mana. Mana is a formula that is first created when you make your character. It is It's a formula based on dice and magic and stuff like that. It goes up as you level, just like your health does. Even when you fail a spell, you still spend the mana, and trying to gain mana back is a bit more awkward than trying to gain health back, because the kind of rest regain version of mana you don't get until you've done at least an hour of rest or meditation. Then you can start getting your first chunk of mana back. For every hour you do it again. So, and if you get to sleep overnight, essentially, or meditate overnight, then you get it all back. So it's a lot harder than getting health back. But of course you can bring lyrium potions along. So take that into account, where your warrior or rogue might be just getting their health back with a 5-minute breather. You need a whole hour before you start regenerating your blue bar. So take it into account. It's more of an advanced class, isn't it? And the fact that you will be wearing the lightest armour, if not any armour at all really, if you don't want problems with your spell casting. We'll cover that in a moment too. Now, spell power is another one of your stats, as it were, specifically to the mage. Spell power is another formula, is based again on your magic stat, and check other things and add them on, and then you get your spell power. So yeah, the more magic you've got, the more mana you've got, and the more magic you've got, the more spell power you've got. And the spell power helps in those spells where there'd be like a chance of resistance for the target you're trying to hit. So some spells have a requirement that you have to beat an opposed test. So you've successfully cast the spell, you've spent the mana, it's gone through, but now it's hit the target. You might want to control them in some way, and you might have to go against one of their stats, one of their focuses, where applicable. That's their resistance attempt, and you put in your spell power up against that. Your spell power's got to break through that to have the effect on the person you're trying to affect. So even then, you see, there's the chance of it resisting if your spell power doesn't work. You know, you've just wasted the spell, you've wasted your time, you've wasted your mana. So again, the consideration is it really is an advanced class, but if you like the thought of the challenge of that, then this could be a good class for you. Now, I said before that really the mage needs to be wearing cloth, their robes, whatever. And remember, whatever army piece you're wearing, it just covers the whole body. There's not like a slot for arms, slot for legs, slot for chest. Robes won't really have any armour anyway, will they? If you try wearing other armour, which is, well, light leather, heavy leather, light mail, heavy mail, light plate, heavy plate. Now, those are the different categories. As soon as you go into light leather, there is a little chart, and it says that yes, you get the extra armour value of that being a spellcaster, but it creates an amount of strain. Then it will be that much strain on every spell you cast. So you'll be using more mana, that much more mana, because you're wearing a piece of that armour. And of course, the higher the piece of armour, if you go then into the heavy leather, then the strain will be another one instead, higher. And of course, if you're a mage and you're wearing heavy plate, then the mana usage on your spells is going to be ridiculous. What the game's trying to tell you is don't rock the boat. Don't try and wear things you shouldn't really be wearing. Don't try and wield weapons you can't really be wielding because you're minus to hit with them and things like this. The option's there if the player chooses to go against that grain and do things their own way, because this is an RPG. You better bloody have a lot of lyrium potions on you, that's all I can say. And it gets to a point, surely, when you're GMing, that you can't be carrying too many potions, or you'll be rattling and clanking, and how would you factually be carrying that much gear? Now, I know it all sounds very dodgy because your mana's going down, 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 but remember again, your Arcane Lance, it needs to be used. It helps balance your mana pool out. You can even put a focus into the Arcane Lance to have it hit more often. And of course, you can put a focus into any of the spell schools. Also, you can put talents into any of those schools as well, and that's nice, because that gives you like a little extra effect just for taking Novice into any of the spell schools. And then at Journeyman, you get a new spell to choose from in that school as well. Now, an important distinction must be made here, because when you cast with the auto-attack, your Arcane Lance, it counts as ranged physical non-magic damage. So you get to generate stunts, that's any doubles rolled, even the dragon die, on the 3 dice rolled, from the normal stunt chart. So that gives the mage access to that, because they're not going to be getting in with a quarterstaff and start swinging it now, are they? That's nice, because they can do things like the skirmish stunt, which we've spoken about and how powerful that is. But here's the really cool thing. When you're doing a spell, if that happens to proc a dragon die, then you get your very own stunt chart for spells. So I'm not going to go too deeply into it because, again, copyright infringements. I don't do that. So I'm just going to quickly cover kind of the feel, the vibe of that chart. So, I mean, you can have things like you increase the spell power of the thing you've just cast. You can make it cost less mana with stunts. And, of course, you can spend these on top of each other up to the dragon die amount. Have it do more damage. Have a kind of protective shield around you. Generate suddenly as a nice side effect. Have the thing resolve a little quicker and give you more time to do something else. Or have it sort of create a presence around you that is troubling to anyone trying to strike you. The specifics of that you will have to learn by consulting the chart itself and finding out what they are. It gives you something else fun to play with, really, for your spellcasting. I will, however, give you one example from the actual book here in the Player's Guide of the Tier 1 box set, just as an example spell, so you get the idea here. Arcane Bolt, Magic School Spirit. To remember, if you've got a focus in that, then you can have a +2 to hit. Spell type attack, mana cost 2 mana points. Casting time major action. Remember, it's broken down into major and minor actions. You can do a major and a minor, or 2 minors in your turn. That's it. After casting this, you could do a minor action still. Target number 10. Test dexterity, acrobatics versus spell power. Alright, so you arcane bolt them. You go 3d6, focuses, whatever applicable. If you beat it, they then have to... The opponent has to attempt to dodge it, basically. So they do their acrobatics dexterity, so it's dexterity stat plus 3d6 plus acrobatics if they have the acrobatics focus versus the spell power. A bolt of arcane energy springs from your hand or your staff and streaks towards a visible target within 30 yards. The arcane bolt inflicts 2d6 damage with bonus damage equal to the casting roll's dragon die. If the target makes a successful dexterity acrobatics test versus your spell power, the spell only inflicts 1d6 damage. Ah, there we go. Right, so it wasn't a miss or not. It's a lessens the severity of it, so it still hits, but they've moved sufficiently enough. Now, I gave you that spell just as an example because it's the first one alphabetically in the spell list, and I'm not really infringing too much on copyright by just telling you one spell. It gives you the format, the formula, the concept, the idea, how they work, what you're going to be playing with as a mage, the way you are going to be gaming it. Right, so other than these specializations you can go into, which again will be for a later video, but you want to take into account what you want to build towards, and I think we have covered everything that I can think of to tell you about the mage specifically as a class. All I will say is that, again, as you build, you get very limited options while you build. You really have to take the things that complement you in your primary and secondary stats, and everything needs to build towards what you're planning to be. So again, familiarity with the computer game will help you no ends, because you will know what the specialization classes are, which open up as talents in the realms of this RPG, that you can start taking from level 6. So look out for the video talking about the specializations currently available. See, that way I don't burden the All About Mages video with limited scope of current specializations available, because when the next tier comes out, this video is still viable to a starting mage, whereas if I'd have covered the specializations specifically available for the mage at current time, new specializations would be out, and this video would be obsolete, wouldn't it? I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's helped you. If you want to pick mage, let me know. Tell me why. Has this video inspired you, or has it put you off? How do you feel about the balance of the mage class from what I've told you, having not taken it to the table yet? Maybe you have taken it to the table. Have you played Dragon Age with a mage? What do you think? Our live sessions are coming up soon. I'm going to get to see at least an apostate in action. I do hope you all have a very good day, and I thank you once again for tuning into the video. I'll look forward to your comments below, and I'll see you at the table.